Hey guys, what's up? Today I have something a little bit different than usual, but still on the RPG genre. These are 10 great games with RPG elements. Are these games RPGs or not? Well, I don't think so, but it'll be up to you to decide. The important thing is that they're all great games, personal recommendations of mine. Some of these are pretty well known, some others are forgotten gems, and some others are hidden gems. Oh yeah! It's just, I think the list is pretty damn good, man. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's begin! Number 10. Dusk Diver. This is a game developed by what I think it's an indie studio from Taiwan. There's already a direct sequel to it released last year, localized on Steam just a few days ago. PS4 and Switch versions will come in February. The first one, also on the PS4, Switch and PC, is a 3D adventure beat-em-up with some small RPG elements. You play as a high school girl called Yumo on a quest to defeat the mysterious phantoms attacking the city through dimensional breaches. Later, you'll unlock other guardians from the same group she fights with. They will join your party to aid you in battle or temporarily fight alongside you. Each one of them is attached to one button of your D-pad. The controls and the skills used in them are very responsive. I've never been that good at 3D beat-em-ups, but this one I had no trouble with. It's great! You'll be fighting a bunch of enemies per stage and eventually a boss. But of course, there will be some puzzles here and there, especially in the city. Here you'll be running around to find items to unlock the next stage, among other small RPG usual elements like talking to people or buying stuff. If anything, it can get somewhat cryptic sometimes when you're questing around town, but nothing game-breaking. Strongly recommended this one, especially if you like 3D beat-em-ups. Number 9. Hunted: The Demon's Forge. Let me say this right off the bat. This game is an acquired taste. It didn't do very well in the reviews, and it certainly got a mixed reception from gamers. Why? Because it's just too difficult and controls can be quite clunky depending on the type of equipment you have. And while I certainly agree with the criticism, I somehow set aside some pleasant moments and managed to beat it and enjoy it. Hunted is an action game where you control two characters. Sometimes you'll need to switch between them both, but you can play almost the entire adventure with just one. The dude can equip heavy armor and weapons while the girl does the standard swords and bow. It's not an RPG because its major focus is on the mission after mission playstyle, hovering over 10 or 12 hours. But the elements are there, clearly visible, as characters level up, upgrade equipment, and learn several different skills. This is a very dark game, but with a strong sense of humor and notorious fan service. So there's also some boost to its linear story. Like I said before, it's an acquired taste, and I strongly recommend it to people looking for a good challenge. Number 8. Fate Extella: The Umbral Star. This is one of those many Warriors-like games, but with strong RPG elements. It follows the events of the Fate Extra games on the PSP, but those were turn-based RPGs. Extella delves into the hack-and-slash venue, fighting against enormous waves of enemies. You start the game with Servant Saber, while you can be either a guy or a girl, but only for story purposes. As you move on, you'll be able to unlock other playable characters, each with their own short route and side missions. After Saber, you'll move on to the next main character and so on until the third and final protagonist. You can equip different accessories that will boost your status here, craft skills or items, and there's also an interaction with your servant. Plus, your characters gain experience in battle and level up the natural way. Honestly, as a Warriors-like game, it's very engaging and the amount of gameplay is insane. But of course you need to be into these kinds of games, or hell, this might very well be a good entry point as it is friendly with the difficulty. Number 7. Deception 4 Blood Ties. The first game in this series was an action RPG on the PlayStation. As more titles were released, the RPG elements began to narrow down. This fourth entry is the one I played the most and finished. I do see strong RPG elements though, but there's no way this is a role-playing game. Basically, you follow the story of the Devil's Daughter, yeah, you heard that right, on a quest to break the seals that imprisoned her father. For this, you'll traverse dungeons and castles, but you'll need to set a huge variety of different traps to kill your enemies. She doesn't exactly level up, but she gets stronger depending on the types of traps you use and how effective they are. Where you position them and how you link the attacks to gain momentum is the key to success. In the end though, you have to play around with the layout of each room you'll fight in. There's a good focus on the story with tons of dialogue, which could also be seen as an RPG element. Overall, this is a very good game, criminally underrated and very fun to play once you understand it, which isn't very hard to do. Number 6. Chaos Legion. So this game was made by Capcom in an attempt to create something similar to Devil May Cry, but with RPG elements. It's a hack and slash alright, but not as fast paced as most of those games. This one is rather technical, as it revolves around the main character having the ability to control summons called legions. Each one of them will play differently with their abilities and skills. They will gain experience and improve the more you fight and complete missions. It plays somewhat like Castlevania Curse of Darkness now that I think about it. Also, this is yet another twisted and dark as hell story. It doesn't focus too much on it, but it somehow feels very powerful and present. This is an amazing game. Nevertheless, just like Haunted, I do believe it can be an acquired taste as well, since it's very hard and not too friendly with newcomers. If you give it a few tries though and endure, I can at least vouch for it becoming a rather unique experience. Number 5. Valkyrie Drive Bhikkhuni. Okay, well, I know it's a fan service game, but I'm a sucker for beat 'em ups and I'll always play them at least once no matter what. It's not your classic 2D beat 'em up though, as it plays fully in 3D, but the button mashing, the fast-paced action and the crazy fun is all there, man. I mean, these girls could be dudes or creatures or whatever for all I care, and I will still be here recommending it. In this game though, besides the strong sexualization content that I won't cover because YouTube, you know, you'll be reading a lot of dialogue, almost like a visual novel. Yes, it's a dumb story, but it gets surprisingly interesting with even some political views. There's almost zero customization or equipment upgrades, but your girls do level up, and trust me, this is a hard game that even on easy mode can get very challenging. Therefore, sometimes you'll need to grind in order to increase your level and have better chances. Valkyrie Drive is a great beat 'em up, but yeah, I guess it's only for people who enjoy the huge fan service or can at least tolerate it. Number 4. Shantae, Half Genie Hero. One of the very few games from a franchise created by WayForward on the Game Boy Color. I've only played this one, which is the 4th game in the series. Yes, they're all connected, but kinda like the Super Mario franchise. I mean, you don't necessarily need to play the first ones to properly understand this one. Half Genie Hero is a side-scrolling platformer, alright, and it plays like most of them, going through a few stages, some of them with slightly different layouts and mechanics to give the game variety. Fighting normal enemies with your long ponytail as you make your way to a boss fight. These will have different requirements and some puzzle elements, something I felt added a lot of spice. The RPG elements are shown within the small town that you'll constantly visit, talking to NPCs, accepting quests, buying items that will heal you or boost your status, etc. There's so much interaction here that I did feel sometimes as if I was playing an action RPG. It's just a platformer though, but as one, it is absolutely amazing. Number 3. Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mystara. Been looking forward to covering this masterpiece again. It's another beat 'em up, quite popular and influential, but not as popular as it should be. Tower of Doom and Shadow over Mystara played a major influence in the Vanillaware style actually, with games like Odin's Sphere and mostly Dragon's Crown. Hell, the latter is literally a love letter to them. My recommendation, however, is mainly for Mystara, since I feel Tower of Doom was kinda primitive and clunky. You can select from 6 different playable characters and embark alone on a quest or together if you're playing with friends. Your character will gain experience and level up throughout the game. You will also be available to buy stuff like small weapons and potions during every intermission. Plus, there are several routes to follow and your decisions will slightly affect their outcome. This arcade game by Capcom is just wonderful, a great beat 'em up and one of the best in this video. Number 2. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Following the departure of Koji Igarashi from the worst video game company ever, he came about a new and true Castlevania series, Bloodstained. This one is the first in them, created thanks to a huge Kickstarter and released on all modern platforms. It follows the adventures of Miriam who, during the 18th century in England, embarks on a quest to stop a mad alchemist who released demons to destroy the country. Gameplay-wise, it's a remarkably beautiful Metroidvania with excellent controls and impressive parallax scrolling. Its RPG elements are overly present here, as this game is a spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, accepting quests, getting rewards, buying items, weapons, armor, crafting them, synthesizing them, etc. There's a leveling up system as well as some grinding involved, as this game is very challenging. You can also customize Miriam and upgrade the abilities she gets from defeating demons. While not a major focus on the story is present, it's still plot-driven and it delivers a compelling gothic drama. I really enjoy the heck out of this game, and I strongly recommend it to everyone, even if they're not Castlevania fans. Number 1. Granblue Fantasy Versus. This is the very first game out of the Granblue series we've got. First, there was a mobile game exclusive to Japan, and then an anime series released worldwide on Netflix. It is strongly recommended to watch that anime before playing this one, because it's a direct sequel. Now, this is actually 2 games in one, a 2D fighting game and a small action RPG. The fighting game works great, a good mix of technical and analytical moves, but with some button mashing combos included. This has become one of my favorite fighters in this generation, the controls and everything else is just great. But let me talk about the RPG mode. It's a short 10 to 15 hours adventure where you'll fight a bunch of enemy soldiers or creatures per mission, and then you'll face a challenging boss. It can be quite repetitive, but since it uses the fighting game controls, it doesn't feel like it because combat here is awesome. The more you advance, the more characters you'll unlock to play as, and boy, each one controls very differently. For the main missions, only one party member controlled by the computer can join you. They fight pretty well actually, and they might even fight better than you sometimes. Obviously, you'll level up after each mission, but only your active character and their ally will gain experience. After each mission, you'll get several weapons of different elements, but characters will always fight with their pre-designed weapon. They only serve to increase your stats and skills by equipping them, so you can level them up as well. There's a lot more to this game than what it seems, but it's not a regular RPG with towns and overworld and 20 plus hours of gameplay, no. Bosses are epic and badass here, and they are, in my opinion, the sole reason to fully enjoy this excellent game. Is it a hidden gem? Maybe not yet. Hopefully it will get more popular, but speaking about hidden gems, there's another video that I did some time ago with 10 more great games with RPG elements, and those are all hidden gems. I suggest you watch that video, I'll leave it at the end. Anyway, Granblue Fantasy Versus, strongly recommended. If you watched the original video a long time ago, well, you probably noticed that Green Grimoire on the PS2 is no longer the first place. That game I covered in the video that I was talking about, hidden gems with RPG elements that I'll leave at the end of this one, so instead I decided to go for Granblue Fantasy Versus. So those were my picks for today's video. Of course, there's a lot of games out there with RPG elements, and if you have some personal recommendations of your own, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!